Hola, compañeros, compadres y alumnos de español. Our lesson today, it's not a lesson, it's a cultural class. But language is not only about words, it is also about culture. And so, today, we're going to learn what is the Cinco de Mayo, because el Cinco de Mayo is coming, and so I want you to know what that is. And so if you say, Feliz Cinco de Mayo, you know what you're saying. And if someone is saying that to you, you know what they are saying, what they are talking about. So feel free to leave this lesson, as you may not learn a lot of words or Spanish, but you probably are going to learn something that is very important for culture, for your knowledge, for your inteligencia. And so this is why I got my Guerrero style hat and put it on, because today we're going to celebrate our Cinco de Mayo, la Batalla de Puebla. Okay, so the story starts like this. When I came to North America, not so long ago, then my friends told me, Feliz Cinco de Mayo. And I just got like, Feliz Cinco de Mayo. Why are they congratulating me for the Cinco de Mayo? I was ignorant, right? I was like, Cinco de Mayo? Okay, well, easy. In Mexico, it's not as popular as it is in North America or abroad. Mexico is important, but we call it more La Batalla de Puebla, the Battle of Puebla, which is the event, which is what happened. But Benito Juárez, the by then president of Mexico, say we could remember it as La Batalla de Puebla or Cinco de Mayo. And so when my friends congratulated me for the Cinco de Mayo, I was doing some research and I said, well, why do they celebrate so much as Cinco de Mayo? It's not like it's the Independence Day, and it's not like it's the Revolution Day, because we celebrate those days and we have to march as kids. We have to march and celebrate those days. But Cinco de Mayo, not as much. We're not very aware of it in Mexico. And so I read the story, well, I knew the story of the Battle of Puebla, and so I kind of started learning more. And what happened is that el Cinco de Mayo de 1862, the May 5th of 1862, the president of Mexico, Benito Juárez, see here, Benito Juárez, which was a president that spoke Zapoteca, an indigenous language, until he was like a 10-year-old. And then he moved to Oaxaca, where he was like a servant, and he started like being very interested in learning, and he actually became a president. He did a lot of reforms. He separated, for example, the church from the laws in Mexico. The church owned a lot of things from like power. It had a lot of power in the 1900s, and so Juárez changed that. But anyway, Mexico had so many problems and like conflicts with North America, with the border. Don't forget that just before that, like Mexico had lost part of its territory, Texas, New Mexico, all those territories. And so the country was in a lot of debt to Spain, England, and France. Also, I don't know if the States, but there were a lot of conflicts with the States before. And so Juárez said, well, because we have a crisis, we cannot pay the debt. Mexico had a debt. And so he stopped paying. And for Spain, England, and France, this was kind of a justification to go and fight and kind of conquer the territory again, which was called as the Second Empire. And so Spain and England and France, you know, the French with their pretty big black hats came marching. They were going to take the territory. They didn't. They actually went. England and Spain actually agreed to wait until Benito Juárez, the president, would pay in a few years. But France said, n'est pas, no? Ce n'est pas possible. And so they said no, and they wanted to take the territory under the strong eye of le Monsieur Lawrence. I don't know if I pronounce that name like that, Lawrences, I don't know. And so they went and marched to take the territory. And in Puebla, en el Fuerte de Loreto, the Fort of Loreto, where I went when I was a little girl, I was 8 years old with my school to see, where we won that battle. And so Mexico won. After many killings, I disagree, a lot of people died, Mexico won. But since then, Mexico won under the Colonel Ignacio Zaragoza and Porfirio Diaz, which was going to be the president of Mexico for 30 years later in time. But Ignacio Zaragoza was in demand of that battle. And so when they won, he wrote a letter. You can read that letter online and to let the president know that they would won that battle. And so the president said, well, we're going to remember that as the Cinco de Mayo o el Día de la Batalla de Puebla. That's why you're saying Cinco de Mayo. We're celebrating the defeat, that we defeated the French. If we hadn't defeated the French, maybe I would be teaching you French now, not Spanish. See? But no, I'm teaching you Spanish. Maybe I would be more like classy being French now, but it didn't happen. Anyway, the sad story is 1 year later, it did happen. The French went to war again, and they won. And they sent Monsieur Maximiliano de Habsburgo, Napoleon III. Napoleon III sent Maximiliano de Habsburgo and his beautiful, they call it, she was beautiful, I don't know, I never met her, Carlota de Bélgica. And so they went with she was with the French dress and very pretty, and he was, imagine, right, the French Maximiliano de Habsburgo, to Mexico, and he was the emperor. They called it el emperador de México. All right, el emperador de México. And so they stayed in power. I mean, I'm saying power, but at that point, the political situation was very unstable. So I don't think it was a very peaceful time for these two people. If you're more interested in the story, you can read News from the Empire by Fernando del Paso, Noticias del Imperio. It's a book, a thick, big book that has the story of these two. But anyway, I don't care about those. Those were the emperors. We don't like them, right? Anyway, he was murdered. He was killed in, I think, 1867. She wasn't. But anyway, so now, why is this event, that this is more celebrated in North America or abroad rather than in Mexico? Well, I think it is because we celebrate the Independence Day, which people tend to confuse. They think Cinco de Mayo is the Independence Day. It is not. Okay? It is not. The Independence Day is el 15 de septiembre, the night of September 15th, where they sang the bells and we became independent. Okay? In 1810, not in 1862. So, don't confuse. Independence Day is different than Cinco de Mayo. In the Cinco de Mayo, we're defeating the French. And in a way, England and Spain that wanted to take also the territory, but they accepted the laws. And what I think happens, that we celebrate it more in the States or like in other parts of the world, is because it gives us identity and it gives us cultural. Also, there are a lot of stories behind the story I'm telling you. They say that by the time they had defeated the French, people that were working in the States celebrated too. Anyway, there are many stories about that story, and so maybe you have a better story than mine. This was only to tell you what is behind el Cinco de Mayo and what is behind the word Feliz Cinco de Mayo while we're celebrating, and well, besides the fact that we defeated the French, I think it's important that it's good to have another holiday, right? And celebrate with Mexican food and some beers, some cervezas, and have fun. And so now, with my hat, I'm going to say adios. And I'm going to show you some tricks with my hat that I know. I don't know. No, that's not true. I don't know any tricks with my hat. But I hope you enjoyed this cultural lesson. And, well, hopefully we'll see you soon. Adios.